Broadcasting live from the Capital OTB studios, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Good morning and welcome to Racing Across America on this Saturday morning. I am Seth Merrow. Thanks for joining us. Do a little as we normally do on a Sunday, recap some of the action yesterday, not only across America, but around the world as well, with Dubai World Cup day being yesterday. So we'll hit on much of that. Bottom of the hour, we will be joined by Steve Byk. He's been at Santa Anita all week with the radio show, so I thought we'd get boots on the ground, as it were, with Mr. Byk, talking a little bit about the Santa Anita Derby card. Yes, Santa Anita Derby and the card yesterday. Do want to remind you that today here at the Clubhouse Racebook, there is a player's bankroll. Come in. If you're selected for the team, you chip in a little bit, and OTB puts in a chunk of money. Everybody on the team gets a race to play and some money, and at the end of the day, the proceeds are split up amongst the team. So again, this afternoon here at the Clubhouse Racebook Players Bankroll. Come on down, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. All right. The syndicate is going to open today too. There's going to be a syndicate next Saturday, and you can jump in. Probably around noontime, the entries will open. CapitalOTB.com. Click on the promotions link and look for that slate. Click on that, and you can enter to get your shot to be on the syndicate team, and maybe you'll win a little extra something next Saturday. But entries will open today. All right. Yesterday, I do want to give a tip of the cap to Kendrick Carmouche. One of the good guys. He's a lot of fun. We've had him on the show up at Saratoga and whatnot. Fun guy. And got career victory number 4,000 yesterday. Very good. And I was curious, and Dave Grenig wrote it in his article. I think he said the 69th person jockey to do that. So he's in select company, obviously, with 4,000 career victories. And he had a great day yesterday. I think he had 3 wins. We'll talk about some of that, as he had stakes wins too. But it was fun. He came back, and he always says he comes back, gives a salute to the crowd on the apron at Aqueduct. Yesterday, he had the big, as they normally do on those days, the commemorative 4,000 win card that they held up in the winner's circle. But then he took that and he jumped the fence. He was standing with the crowd. It was very entertaining. Kendrick Carmouche, again, congratulations on 4,000 career victories. All right. Let's jump in, because, as I say, it wasn't just racing across America. It was racing around the world yesterday. And it was a mixed bag coming into the World Cup for the U.S. entrants. Doug O'Neill won a race earlier on the card. Let me just go through the results earlier. The UAE Derby, Flood Zone was disappointing. Flood Zone, the winner of the Gotham for Brad Cox, Florent Joe on board, ran 7th in the UAE Derby. The Golden Shaheen, not a bad result. As I say, it was kind of mixed results. But in the Golden Shaheen, Nakatomi ran 2nd. Wesley Ward, Jaramillo on board. So Nakatomi 2nd in the Golden Shaheen, but Straight No Chaser was 8th. Super Chow was 9th. And are we looking at the World Cup here? We are. Okay. So let me get to the World Cup then. It's going to be a 1-2 finish for the United States, with Hit Show getting it done over Mixto. Right about here, you think Mixto has it in the bag, and then Hit Show comes late and gets him. So the day ended very well for the United States, with a 1-2 finish with American runners. Hit Show over Mixto. Hit Show trained by Brad Cox, Florent Joe Giroux on board, and Frankie Dettori was on board Mixto. He had a win earlier on the card. Frankie Dettori has done very well on Dubai World Cup night over the years. Mixto being trained by Doug O'Neill. So again, 1-2 finish for the United States there. $84 for Hit Show. And I'm not saying he should have been the favorite, but Hit Show, nice win at Fairgrounds 2 starts back, and then was in the Big Cap and ran decently in the Big Cap in the prior start back at the beginning of March. shows up for Brad Cox and $84. Mixto, decent price as well for those two. I mean, if you were a homer and you played, the United States players in the exacta for $1, you got $431. Even better, if you played the dollar Quinella, you got $481. So there was certainly a little life there again for folks who jumped in and took their pop with, as I say, the American runners. Running third was Forever Young, so that was notable as well. And some people commented on social media that it seemed like maybe some of the runners coming out of the Saudi races a few weeks back, maybe that took a little something out of them. Forever Young and Romantic Warrior certainly put on a ding-dong battle in Saudi Arabia, with Forever Young just nipping Romantic Warrior. Both of those lost yesterday, but they both ran okay. Forever Young, again, ran third, but it was Hit Show getting it done. And as I say, Flood Zone seventh, Nakatomi in the Golden Sheen second. Straight No Chaser had to be a little bit disappointing for Dan Blacker and company. Johnny Velasquez on board, ran eighth in that Golden Sheen. Super Chow, Chantal Sutherland, who has been kind of based over in the Mideast, over in Dubai for a while. She was on board Super Chow for Delgado, ran ninth in that Golden Sheen. But as I say, it was a mixed bag earlier. Nakatomi ran okay, and Doug O'Neill had the win on Raging Torrent in the Godolphin Mile. That was the winner. Frankie Dettori was on board. Bobby DeBona had Steel Sunshine in there, ran an okay fourth. And in the sprint, Izzy Vungu Vungu for Graham Motion ran 10th. So as I say, it was a little bit of a mixed bag coming into the big race of the night. But when you run 1-2 and you have a win on the undercard, good second, it was a good night for the American contingent overall. The Japan runners also, they had 2 or 3 victories on the night. And the Japan runners, we've talked about it for a while now, the last couple of years anyway. In international racing, they have been very interesting and very productive, and they continued that last night, as I say, with a couple or 3 wins on the undercard of stakes races for the Japanese-based runners. All right, let's take a look at some of the other action from yesterday. Here, stateside highlight in New York on a really good wood card was the Wood Memorial, and it featured a very intriguing field. We had talked about it yesterday with Acacia Clement, and we kind of agreed that there were some interesting runners that made it a very interesting betting race as well. That's kind of the way it played out. Captain Cook, the Rick Dutrow horse, was the 9-5 favorite. I was maybe a little surprised at that. Not super surprised, but Captain Cook is going to run fourth. It's going to be on the front end all the way around the Bob Baffert trained Rodriguez, Mike Smith on board. And as you can see, again, not only all the way around, but just kind of makes them chase and not look like the rest are doing a whole lot. It was a decent late run from Grande. That was my pick. That was the Pletcher runner who was 2 for 2. Runs an okay second, given it was only the third career start, stakes debut. So I thought Grande was okay. The rest of them were maybe a little bit suspect. Passion Rules third, Captain Cook fourth. Sand Devil, a nice New York bred from Linda Rice, ran 6th in there. I thought Statesman was a little bit interesting. That one ran 8th. But I said yesterday the post position was not going to be a bonus for that one. So Rodriguez comes out of it with a solid 101 buyer figure. Again, Mike Smith on board. Last time a Wood Memorial winner won the Derby, 2003 with Funny Side. So we'll see. But Rodriguez going to Kentucky for Bob Baffert. It was the third fastest Wood since 2005. The third Wood win for Bob Baffert. He had a couple other runners win the Wood and go on to the Kentucky Derby. Bob and John ran 17th in the Derby. Congaree ran 3rd. Again, they won the Wood and then went on to the Kentucky Derby. It was a record Wood Day handle down in New York. They handled over $23 million. But I think it was the Dave Grenig article that noted that also noted it had to be helped a little bit by the fact that both Oaklawn and Keeneland had taken the day off due to the weather situation at those venues. So Aqueduct was kind of the gorilla on the card yesterday, at least early. So Rodriguez, solid with the 101 buyer. Good looking win on the front end, but it was on the front end. And it seems like there's some speed signed up for the Kentucky Derby. But the fact of the matter is, it doesn't seem to play out that way anymore. You go back a ways. Certainly when the points system was different, you could get just kind of bona fide sprinters in the race more than you can now. Like the 2-year-old races had some more point value or more value to get in. And so some of those horses that were a little bit precocious maybe would sneak in and have some early speed. Now it's kind of evened out the point system where it doesn't seem you get those absolute sprint types in, but it does seem like there will be a little bit of speed in the race this year. We'll see how it works out. But Rodriguez certainly looked pretty good yesterday. It was fun to see Mike Smith back in New York, back in the winner's circle for the Wood Memorial. Also on the card yesterday was the Excelsior, mile and a quarter, $150,000 up for grabs. It will be Phileas Fogg getting it done. I did not use Phileas Fogg, but that's a horse that had a lot of early speed and was using it yesterday, was behind Mama's Gold early, but not far behind, and then, took over. And as you can see, stretches out here. The chart margin is going to wind up to be 5 1/4. Classic Catch runs second. Masmac runs third. I like Batten Down. That one ran fifth. The favorite was Masmac, who ran third. But as you can see, there was no, no threat to the winner, Phileas Fogg. This was, I always say, you can make a case you have a really nice horse, certainly one you would like to own at the very least when they win half their starts. And this one has now won 8 of 16 overall, well over $400,000 with yesterday's purse actually. Yes, it's approaching $500,000 in earnings. As I say, 8 wins and 16 starts, the kind of horse that you just have to appreciate. Kendrick Carmouche on board again on his big day where he passed the 4,000 win mark and managed to do it. And I pulled up the Aqueduct stats so far. I mean, we're, 3 days into this spring meet. But Kendrick Carmouche on top with 7 wins. So he's having a nice little run over the past few days, including, obviously, yesterday. 98 buyer for Phileas Fogg. His career best, lifetime best was 99. So pretty good performance yesterday in the Excelsior from the Gustavo Rodriguez trainee. All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, more from Aqueduct yesterday, including the Gazelle, which could play into the Oaks. And then a little bit later on, Steve Byk will join us. Been at Santa Anita all week. We'll get some thoughts, Santa Anita Derby and more right after this. Stay tuned.
You like free money? Well, Capital OTB gives its players plenty of opportunities to cash in. At Capital OTB, there are so many ways for horse players to receive bonus dollars by simply participating in promotions such as our bankrolls, bounty bets, online handicapping contests, and much, much more. Plus, with Capital OTB's Player Rewards Program, you get actual cash back. So what are you waiting for? Log on today at CapitalOTB.com or CapitalOTBBet.com and claim your free money.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
Welcome back to Racing Across America on this Sunday morning. Thanks for joining us. Again, nice day down at Aqueduct yesterday, the Wood Memorial, and a really solid undercard of stakes as well. Rodriguez winning the Wood Memorial, but there were some other horses that obviously come out of important stakes like this and will be worth watching going forward, including the Carter, which can play into the Met Mile. That'll be up here again this year, Belmont Stakes weekend. And wouldn't surprise me if Crazy Mason makes the move. Crazy Mason was 5-1 on the morning line, went off at 5-1. Manny Franco on board for Greg Sacco. Crazy Mason's going to be the number one horse here. And just get up. I mean, this is a nice late run. Crazy Mason, when they turned for home, was in the back of the pack. Manny keeps working. Quince Brew was the very solid sprinter coming in from the Mid-Atlantic and looked good late, but gets run down at the wire by Crazy Mason. I used Dilger, who was third in there. I thought that horse was interesting. Dilger went off as the longest price on the board and ran an okay third. You know, wasn't threatening to the winner, but at some point in the stretch, again, Dilger is the number 6 horse, who is kind of in the middle of the pack there and looks to have some momentum. Right about here, I thought maybe, and then Quince Brew kind of keeps rolling, and then you can see the momentum on the outside. But again, I thought Dilger was okay to price, but better than okay, very good, was Crazy Mason. Crazy Mason, that was the 5th win in 13 career starts. Been bouncing around at Tried Stakes Company a little bit. Going back to last year, was in the Tampa Bay Derby and ran 7th. Came in with a couple of nice sprint wins and allowance and optional claiming company at Aqueduct, and now follows it up with the Grade 2 Carter. And again, we'll see. I think this was a performance that propels this horse forward to take shots, against continuing on against Stakes Company is the point. But it was a 98 buyer. The lifetime best prior was 92. So it was a pretty good performance yesterday from Crazy Mason. And again, came from kind of out of the clouds to get it done there and get it done nicely. The chart margin, again, was only a neck, but had to run down a very good sprinter in Quince Brew, who had come in 4 for 5 and came out of a kind of a dominating triple-digit buyer victory in the General George. So both of those, they were right there at the wire. Quince Brew, Crazy Mason, both worth watching in that sprint out to a mile kind of division, and maybe Met Mile going forward for one or both of those. They both look capable. Also on the card, as noted earlier, the Gazelle, 3-year-old boys on the way to the Derby in the Wood, 3-year-old girls on the way to the Oaks in the Gazelle. We'll see how that plays out. However, listening to Chad Brown afterwards, they're going. It is the number 2 Ballerina Dioro, 3-5 favorite, but man, she has to work. There's a point where it feels like she's going to zip right by. Dylan Davis said just wasn't changing leads. When she finally did, boom, she kind of set down and just pushed by early on, but just barely. Chart margin is going to be a nose. I had Ballerina Dioro on top, but if you heard me yesterday with Acacia and then a little bit later in the afternoon, I said, oh man, I'm looking for an alternative. I just can't find one. So I land on Ballerina Dioro with some trepidation, and you can see it was kind of deservedly so in there. Early on, ran well. Safi Joseph runner, last seen running second in the Virginia Oaks, part of the ownership group, the White Barrio folks. So early on, you would think also becomes a player in this division, albeit the winner was a 79 buyer. And Chad Brown was interviewed after the race, and he said, yeah, you would like to see her top of the stretch, get the momentum going, go right on by, and you go into the Oaks with feeling like you really have a player. But he said she's kind of more lightly raced, maybe a little bit inexperienced. So a tough race was probably good and something to build on. So there was kind of a mixed reaction there. But again, it seems like they're going. And, you know, this 3-year-old filly division is a little suspect. We'll talk about the Santa Anita Oaks in a few. The winner there didn't get much of a number either. But a 79 buyer doesn't inspire a lot of confidence. I pulled it up earlier. See if I can grab it here. It looks like Good Cheer is the one coming out of the 91 buyer. Quiet Side and 5G last week were okay. Simply Joking as well. So, 91 buyer for Quiet Side and 90 for 5G. The 79 looks a little suspect then going in, but Chad Brown trainee likely headed on to the Kentucky Oaks after the win in the Gazelle yesterday. And finally, on the card yesterday down at Aqueduct, it was the Distaff, 7 furlongs, the trip for the fillies and mares. I thought Socially Selective was a little bit interesting from Bill Mott. On the numbers, probably had to move forward a little bit. Socially Selective is the number 5. And you can see here is kind of threatening briefly, but not much of a threat to Irish Maxima, who just kind of lays it down and lives up to the 4-5 favoritism in here. Running second is number 4, St. Benedict's Prep. But Irish Maxima, this is going to be a serious sprinter on the filly and mare side of things. She had come in with a 2-race win streak New Year's Eve down at Parks in the Mrs. Claus, and then won the Barbara Fritchie at Laurel. So now 2 for 2 as a 4-year-old. 4 for 4 at the 7 furlong distance. So, which is kind of a unique and tough distance to be a specialist at. So that puts her in a nice category as well. She comes up with a nice 92 buyer figure. She had run a 101 2 starts back in the Parks race. So overall, though, that's right in the ballpark of being a pretty good number for her. But as I say, we'll watch. Up at Saratoga, and it wouldn't surprise me after the race, they had some of the ownership group in, and they were also talking to John Service. And it seems like they have some big plans ahead for this horse. And you would think, if you're saying big plans, you would think some Saratoga's in, maybe the honorable miss up there. So we may see Irish Maxima, but she looked pretty good yesterday, certainly. And again, continues a win streak, now 3 for the last 3, including that grade 3 distaff yesterday down at Aqueduct. So again, nice performances across the board. Again, in the Gazelle, maybe the number a little light. We'll see how that plays out in a few weeks in Kentucky. But otherwise, some horses to watch going forward, including you would have to think up at Saratoga. As I said earlier, pulled up results from the recap sheet from Aqueduct yesterday, and I just did want to bring up Kendrick won the 4th, Kendrick won the 6th, and then that Phileas Fogg Stakes race. So he did win 3. Oh, and he had Crimson Light. That was his 4,000th for Pletcher. So Kendrick actually wound up with 4 yesterday. And again, when you do that, a lot of times you get to that milestone and you're kind of chasing, and it takes a while to go through. He went through and then some. So a nice day for Kendrick Carmouche yesterday. And as I say, we're just a few days into the spring meet, but with 4 wins, he's now on top of the jockey standings with 7. Christopher Elliott with 3. Dylan Davis back in town. He's tied with a number of jockeys at 2. But again, we're just early in the meet, but still early in the meet. Linda Rice with 5 winners so far. A number of trainers sitting in second with 2. So it was an interesting day, certainly yesterday for Kendrick Carmouche, and we'll see what he does going forward. Bob Baffert trains the winner of the Wood Memorial, and again, he's on his way back to Churchill Downs and the Kentucky Derby this year with that one. All right, we'll take a break, and when we come back, Steve Byk from Southern California. He's been out there all week long leading into Santa Anita Derby Day, and we'll get some thoughts on the big race. And you would have to think Southern California, given still waiting on results, the Bluegrass on Tuesday, that may shake things up, but it's hard to see how journalism won't be the favorite going forward after yesterday's performances, and we'll talk about those. And let me remind you, speaking of Keeneland, I alluded to it earlier, the same weather system that hit Kentucky was also down in Arkansas. They were expecting, I saw pictures on social media of a training facility. I wasn't aware. There's some kind of training facility that is fairly close to Oak Lawn, where the barns were, 3 feet deep in water, and it had noted the horses got out all right and everything. But it was a picture that definitely depicted weather hitting that Hot Springs area. So Oak Lawn had postponed yesterday until today. Keeneland opening day scheduled for today now. Opening day traditionally would have been Friday, but again, they also hit with that just unusually wet weather and high winds and whatnot in some sections of Kentucky as well. So the Friday and Saturday cards from Keeneland have been moved to Monday and Tuesday. So the Ashland for the 2-year-old or 3-year-old fillies will be tomorrow, Monday, and the Bluegrass will be Tuesday. We'll be in both of those days with OTB Live to kind of take you through some of the Keeneland action. So looking forward to that. But do note, if you haven't caught up to that so far, Keeneland, Monday and Tuesday, as well as today, which will be effectively their opening day for the spring meet. All right, let's take a break. As promised, after the break, we'll come back with Steve Byk. Stay tuned.
Coming right back, the American, the European, and it is theatrical in front. Trempolino driving hard, full on into trying to get him, and here is the winner, and theatrical has won it. Absolutely spectacular.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Oops, my bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
And it's the filly winning colours. Gary Stevens going to the whip left-handed. Just one crack though. It's winning colours. Turning in an absolutely outstanding performance. We're looking at one exceptional filly.
You like free money? Well, Capital OTB gives its players plenty of opportunities to cash in. At Capital OTB, there are so many ways for horse players to receive bonus dollars by simply participating in promotions such as our bankrolls, bounty bets, online handicapping contests, and much, much more. Plus, with Capital OTB's Player Rewards program, you get actual cash back. So what are you waiting for? Log on today at CapitalOTB.com or CapitalOTBBet.com and claim your free money.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. As promised before the break, joined now by our friend Steve Byk, who was out in Southern California this week, leading up to the Santa Anita Derby and yesterday. Steve, good morning.
Seth, good morning. Good morning, Capital District.
And you sent a picture, and I sent it into the control room. I think they have the picture of you in front of the fountain, and I was looking, and I've never been there, so I wasn't that familiar, and I went to look at pictures to see if that was in the paddock. That's not in the paddock. That's actually outside, right? Right in front of the entrance?
No, it's to the. I guess it would be depending on where you're standing. It's adjacent to the paddock.
Okay.
It faces the center, what used to be the center of the building, until Frank Stronach built that monstrosity that protrudes from the building, and he kind of broke up the facade. But it is a centerpiece. The John Henry statue on one side and Zenyatta on the other side. It's one of the nice. The place is just so majestic and remarkable. There's so many vistas and places to really enjoy. In fact, everybody was talking about that yesterday. In light of the situation going on with Stronach Group and the uncertainties at Gulfstream and here as well. People just they can't believe that there would ever be a possibility of losing a venue like this, which is really one of the world's great racetracks. And but we said that about Arlington too.
Yeah. Well, and talking to you, but talking to many other people over the years as well who have visited numerous Breeders' Cup, everybody seems to agree that the best venue for the Breeders' Cup is Santa Anita.
I wouldn't argue that. It's my favorite too, and I would say that Churchill and Belmont will get back into the mix, here over the next few years. And the reason Churchill and Belmont are important is because you can run the one-turn mile for the third mile as it was intended. It was never intended to be a two-turn race.
Yeah.
But we've had this period where Churchill and Belmont haven't been involved. Churchill, if you've never been to a Breeders' Cup at Churchill, the weather can be iffy, but especially now, it's been such a long. Actually, it's been a long period now that Churchill hasn't hosted. But with all the amenities and all the changes at Churchill, I can't imagine what a Breeders' Cup will be like whenever they get back there. So, anyway, I'm looking forward to Belmont returning in 27.
Yeah, definitely. The new facility is going to be a lot of fun just to go down and visit, see what they've done moving into the 21st century, so to speak. Before we get into the racing specifically, just give us a little update on what your week was like and what yesterday was like weather-wise and crowd-wise at Santa Anita.
It's always fabulous here. It's hard. It's hard to improve on. From a broadcast standpoint, I've got the best venue there is. I'm right there at Clocker's Corner every morning, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. California time. So, the trainers are buzzing around, and it actually early in the week was a little quiet. Started, when they're not racing, you're only racing Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it's a little subdued, but it started to pick up midweek. And we had a fabulous visit with Michael McCarthy in advance, obviously, of journalism, and Baffert on Friday. When I went to take the mid-show break on Friday, I usually don't have trainers. It's been years since I've had trainers on a Friday. But as I was walking back, I quickly had run to the bathroom, and as I'm coming back, he said, "Aren't you going to have me on?" And I said, "I'll have you on Monday after you win some space." And he said, "Well, I'm free now." He said, "I got 10 minutes until the horses come out." I said, "All right, come sit down." And actually, I'm glad we did. And I'll have him on again tomorrow to talk about Rodriguez and where they go from here with Citizen Bull. But Dylan Donnelly, the wonderful horse player that finished fifth in the NHC, Dylan was there on Thursday. I grabbed him for a visit. He happens to be confined to a wheelchair from a terrible RV accident several years ago. He's a remarkable young guy. He had a horse that won that lovely Idaho that was a good single in the pick six sequence on Friday. We had Dylan on. That was a lot of fun. Mark Glatt, if you want to listen to an amazing conversation, go back to the Thursday archive. Mark Glatt ended up being with us for an hour and a half. And we've covered a wide range of topics, including, California situations in general and horsemanship and HISA and, the rule changes and the challenges of being a horseman in this era. Really a well-received discussion with one of the smartest and most thoughtful horsemen in the game, Mark Glatt. It was a fabulous week, and then yesterday was absolutely glorious. It's picture perfect. You had a perfect sized crowd. When that building has 25,000, 30,000, it's just so exciting and such a great atmosphere. The infield, they've got the infield action. An amusement park basically for kids, and so families are on hand. The backdrop of the San Gabriel Mountains, there's just really no place like it anywhere.
All right, let's get into the action, the Santa Anita Derby, because this will definitely have Kentucky Derby implications, because I think we've defined the favorite here. We're going to watch the Santa Anita Derby results, and it will be number one journalism. This, to me, was the most interesting horse on the day yesterday, even if yesterday was including the Bluegrass, which obviously has now been moved. But I wanted to see if journalism could put two together. And not only did he put two together, but folks were commenting with a troubled trip to do what he did and run down Baeza. And he winds up with a 102 buyer figure after that troubled trip and a nice win. Journalism over Baeza, obviously disappointing, running fourth and fifth, Citizen Bull and Barnes from Bob Baffert. But as noted, journalism with a 102 buyer following up the 108 in the San Felipe, a couple of nice wins. He now heads to Louisville as the favorite for the Kentucky Derby. What were your thoughts yesterday?
Well, it was never really going to be a question. Unless Citizen Bull had beaten journalism, maybe if Barnes somehow had jumped up, but nobody, I don't think, expected that. This was basically an exercise. Michael McCarthy, if you listen to him with Rick Hammerlin on Monday, Michael can't believe how swimmingly everything is going. He says it's almost too perfect of the way things have been working for journalism. Every training day is perfect. Every workout has essentially been perfect for him. So it's a question of just, leading him over there and going through the exercise. What is really fascinating here is that, facing only four horses, that he ended up getting pocketed, and Rispoli, did have to pull a little bit of a magic act and a rabbit out of the hat to extract him from that spot. And Michael said before and afterward, he knew that there'd be a bit of a target on his back, and that jockeys would be riding not just their horse, but also, to make it hard for him if possible. And he was able to overcome those challenges and then run down a horse that I can tell you was absolutely prepared to win. And I ended up picking Baeza. I bet him, and when he was the price he was, I bet him more. And Brad Free and I were talking in the paddock, and Brad had also landed on Baeza, and everybody forgot that for a month, ever since Baeza broke his maiden so well, and ever since the San Felipe, the conversation was that it was going to be a 3-horse race, that it was journalism, Citizen Bull, and Baeza. And then all of a sudden last week, when Baffert had to make the call to send Cornucopian to Oaklawn instead of Barnes, and he had to figure out what to do with Barnes, all of a sudden everybody kind of forgot about Baeza. And, he comes out of this with a 101 buyer. He is going to be right on the bubble. I've been texting with John Sheriff this morning, and I'm heading over to the track as soon as we're done. And John was absolutely heartbroken and very frustrated about not having the 50 points that this race sort of would normally have, not sort of, would absolutely have had there been 6 horses entered or more. Instead, there was this modified point system because it was a 5-horse field. This is something, and I don't begrudge Churchill for making that adjustment. And it's not inappropriate that they did that. So Baeza runs this courageous race, and is only second to the obviously the best 3-year-old in the country. So it is the two of them ran very well, obviously, and hopefully Baeza gets to run in the Derby. Let's talk about Citizen Bull, the 2-year-old champion, who was disappointing here, and Baffert was not put out by the performance. He said that going in, he said, this is a very heavy horse. I did not lean on him. The track is heavy and slow and taxing on a horse like him. He said, look at what Rodriguez did getting out of town. So Baffert was not people who are giving up on Citizen Bull and say, oh, he needs to lead. I wouldn't worry about Citizen Bull too much. Baffert will now tighten him up. Absolutely needed the race. So Citizen Bull, unless there's something that's discovered down the road here this week, expect a much tighter, better Citizen Bull. I would not write him off. Barnes is a problem. Barnes was bad, and they're going to have to go back to the drawing board and probably come back with him. Woody Stevens or something. Turn him back, give him the confidence booster because he was awful. So there's your Santa Anita Derby. There's not there's not a lot more to digest. Journalism will be your favorite. I would guess, depending on what happens in the Bluegrass Tuesday, journalism goes 3-1, probably 5-2, 3-1 favorites come Derby.
Yeah, you would have to think with the 2 triple-digit buyers. And yeah, I was going to bring that up. That really unfortunate. And I agree with you. I get the logic behind and agree with the logic behind cutting down the points with a short field like this. But Baeza winds up with 37.5, which from what I read last night puts him 23 on the list before we get the results of the Bluegrass. So he's gonna be, unfortunately, after a nice performance like that, Baeza's going to be chasing a little bit.
Well, I as I mentioned, I sent you, by the way, you should have it there. I sent you a text with my own list, and let's go over that for a minute for those that haven't seen the post weekend Wood Memorial and Santa Anita Derby points list. First of all, you got the 2 horses from the UAE Derby, Admired Daytona and Heart of Honor. The Japanese horse, Admired Daytona, will come. They told Churchill overnight that Admired Daytona, they could expect him for the Derby. Heart of Honor, Jamie Osborne, who trained Toast of New York. Jamie Osborne knows what to do coming to America, but Heart of Honor is less likely the runner-up out of the UAE Derby. So even though he's going to show up on lists, I would not really include him in the head count for 20. Cafe Luxor, the Japanese road winner, he is definitely coming. That's Cafe Pharaoh's full brother. So you've got at least 2 of the 3 slots that are reserved for international runners. 2 of the 3 will absolutely be utilized, but I don't think the 3rd one will. Then we can talk about horses like Final Gambit, the Jeff Ruby winner. He's more likely to run in the American Turf. That's a Juddmonte Brad Cox runner. And even though he could run in Derby, Juddmonte doesn't need to run him in the Derby. They'll run him where he belongs, in the American Turf. So I don't think you're going to see him in the field of 20. Then you've got Flood Zone, the Gotham winner for Cox. This is Watson Racing, who, of course, won the World Cup with Hit Show. Flood Zone was terrible in the UAE Derby. I can't believe that they would run him. There was always the question that he doesn't want to go that far. There were people who didn't think he wanted to go the mile in the Gotham. So Flood Zone could run in the Derby, but I don't think he will. Then you've got Built. This is the other Aaron Wellman horse from Eclipse Thoroughbred. They've got journalism. I sure hope they don't run Built just to keep somebody out of the gate. I'm sure Wayne Catalano would like to run in the Derby, but Built doesn't look like he belongs. So Built, Flood Zone, Heart of Honor, and Final Gambit. There's 4 horses that are on the Derby list that probably don't participate. Then there's going to be a couple of horses that leapfrog in from the Bluegrass: Burnham Square, Render Judgment, River Thames, East Avenue, Admiral Dennis, and of course Chancellor McPatrick. On my list, I've already got Chancellor McPatrick in the Derby field. So the horses that are on the cusp will be Niequos, Baeza. I mean, let's assume Chancellor McPatrick gets points, so he's going to move up. So the horses that are on the bubble are Neo Equus, Baeza, and Captain Cook right now. But there's going to be horses that get sick, that maybe have a hiccup, and they'll be the ones that decide. So I think Baeza will get in. I think Niequos gets in. Niequos is important for Safi Joseph because he'll inject some speed.
Pace, yeah.
You know, right now there's not a lot of speed in this field. So Neo Equus, and of course now Rodriguez as well, will help. I think we'll end up with an honest Derby pace. But that's my picture for everybody that's wondering about where things stand.
Yeah, as I say, I had him. I read last night 23, but on your list, you've got a number of the horses who, and I think you're absolutely right. A horse like Flood Zone probably not going to go, and so you got a number of horses that have points but probably won't go. You've got Baez at a much nicer 16, but again, still waiting on results from the Bluegrass. And I'd love to see Baez go. For folks who aren't familiar, comes out of the mayor who has become very prominent, Puka, with Maj and Dornock being the siblings to Baeza. So love to see him get in the gate, certainly. And we'll have that all defined over the next week, a couple of weeks, certainly. All right, let's go a little bit earlier on the card yesterday at Santa Anita and see how things might shake out for the Kentucky Oaks. The Santa Anita Oaks yesterday, Tenma came into the race looking like a absolute player for Bob Baffert heading to the Kentucky Oaks. And Tenma gets it done. Going to be the number 4 horse here on the replay. Chart margin's going to be 2 1/4. Silent Loss second. Vodka with a Twist third. Tenma gets it done. But from what I read, this was the slowest Oaks ever at 1 1/16. And she comes out with a 75 buyer. In New York, Ballerina d'Oro, a 79. I'm not sure yesterday produced runners that we necessarily have to worry about in the Oaks. That said, Tenma in the previous race, the La Virginis, had a 92, but the 75 yesterday was not inspiring. But what were your thoughts on the Santa Anita Oaks?
Everybody acknowledged how slow they came home, and you know it was a bit of a stagger fest. And I would say that the Gazelle seemed fairly mundane as well in New York. So it doesn't appear that there was any real threat to Good Cheer and I suppose 5G and Quiet Side. Those are the 3 major players as we look toward Oaks. Simply Joking, I think, is one to consider too, because that was kind of a ding dong battle. Last weekend. Yeah, it was good. And I tell you, the horse. I'll tell you who the mystery filly is, and that's the horse of Will Walden's Bless the Broken.
All right.
And don't forget, on Monday they're running the Ashland again. We still have the Ashland.
Yeah, no question. That has a chance to play into it. And we wanted to talk about one more Santa Anita race. You and I were talking before we went on the air, and you said this one's kind of a monster to maybe keep our eyes on. They also ran the Monrovia yesterday, 6.5 furlongs, downhill course on the turf, and it'll be number 6, Queen Maxima, 1-5 favorite, and makes it look easy on the front end. Talk a little bit about Queen Maxima.
Well, Jeff Mullins, that is a serious filly.
Yeah.
And Mullins is absolutely loaded. File it away in the back of your mind. And when they get down to Del Mar this summer, Jeff Mullins is going to be a handful.
And again, that was Queen Maxima and the Monrovia. Win number 5 in start number 8. Solid win there with a 93 buyer. So nice performance also on the Santa Anita Derby card. All right, before we let you go, maybe some wood thoughts and some bluegrass thoughts. One review, one preview. Rodriguez yesterday on the front end looked pretty good. Comes away with a solid 101 buyer, as we kind of alluded to a few moments ago. Will be part of the speed at Churchill Downs. I used Grande. I took a shot with Grande. I thought the second place finish was okay, given it was only the third career start and the stakes debut. So I was happy with that performance, but it was all Rodriguez yesterday. Your thoughts on the wood?
Well, when he got that comfortable lead, that you could see on the backstretch, the thing was over. One thing that's happened in these last round of prep, it's been very clear. There's been small elite handfuls on the top end of horses. I mean, the only 4 horses, frankly, that were logical finished 1, 2, 3, 4. Personally, it's funny. I picked them in reverse, 4, 3, 2, 1. But those were the only horses that really were to be considered. I keyed off of Passion Rules, the Cox horse, who came in with almost the identical pattern that Tapan Street went into the Florida Derby with. And Passion Rules is actually right on the cusp too. If there's a couple Derby defections beyond what I just talked about, Passion Rules could end up in the Derby yet. Baffert wins these races because he's not afraid to use his horse's speed, and he trains them hard. I know people criticize him for being hard on horses. But he prepares them for assignments like this. And one of the things that, he said, to me, and I told you I was standing with him and Martin Garcia after the Derby yesterday. He said, look at what Rodriguez did in New York the minute he got off of the surface at Santa Anita, which they keep very deep and slow and tiring. He ends up on a surface in New York, which is much tighter and faster, and he wins the way he did. So he'll be a player. I mean, Baffert won't take the foot off the accelerator with his horses.
It was also a fun part of the story yesterday. Mike Smith back in New York grabs another Wood Memorial, and also on the day yesterday. 4,000 wins for Kendrick Carmouche, and he jumps over the fence and he's mingling with the crowd on the apron. So it's a fun day on the jockey side of things in New York as well. Let's get a little preview again with the situation, the weather, the postponement. Bluegrass is going to be Tuesday. This is an interesting field as well. I have liked River Thames, and so I'm going to go in that direction. I think Burnham Square stands a good chance of rebounding. And I've liked Chancellor McPatrick ever since the really good couple of races up at Saratoga last summer. And I think off of the seasonal debut down at Tampa, he can run well. What do you see in the Bluegrass on Tuesday?
Well, it's funny. This race ended up kind of out of sight and out of mind. You're right about River Thames, who took a significant step forward in the fountain, and is obviously got to be dealt with. The question, of course, is going to be East Avenue getting back on a racetrack where he ran his career best race. And I can tell you from clocker Frank McGoey down at Fairgrounds, East Avenue, after the disastrous Risen Star, has trained very well. So he's kind of the mystery horse. Render judgment as he actually is a little mildly intriguing. McPeak, you know how McPeak is going to operate. I'll tell you one thing that is notable, that Dean Wilkes gets Brian Hernandez Jr. For Burnham Square, which tells you something, pretty distinct. Burnham Square, I think people have backed off after the Fountain of Youth. That's probably a mistake. He looks poised to take a step forward. So this is a really difficult bunch, and somebody's going to come away disappointed. I mean, Owen Almighty is not going to get the easy lead and the easy trip that he got at Tampa. But I will say this, that race came back a lot faster. Looking at the sheets, looking at Thorographs, that race came back a lot faster than expected. So, I would think that Owen Almighty and East Avenue, that they're going to be out, setting the pace. You know that Fletcher from the rail, Arad Ortiz is going to have to get, forward position with River Thames. So all of that, I think, bodes well for Chancellor McPatrick for his run. I would think that Chancellor and Burnham Square are the two that you focus on, and I'm very undecided. I've gone back and forth on this race. I was glad, actually, that it got postponed, because I didn't know what I was going to do if I had to make a decision for yesterday. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm sure there'll be some conversation on the radio show this week. Well, what's your schedule like? I assume you head home shortly. No, I say Monday and Tuesday to do recapping here. This race was always going to be the most important of the Derby prep, and so we'll be here tomorrow and Tuesday. Come back Tuesday night, and then we'll spend about 8 days at home, and then head a week from Friday. A whole 8 days at home. Yeah. And that's the plan. And then where I didn't hear where you said you go after that. Well, I'll be in Louisville. Oh, right. What am I? Yeah, of course. Yeah. We got the Derby fortnight. We stay in Louisville afterward for recapping. And then we'll go to Nashville for the Iroquois, and then Baltimore for Freeman. All right. Travel safe. Oh, and before I let you go, I saw you tweeted out, and he's typically on Wednesdays, my morning, so I often hear him. Sid Fernando, you tipped your cap to him, and worth doing. He was kind of behind the Mating of Hit show, the winner of the World Cup yesterday. Yeah, he does. Sid does the matings for Gary and Mary West, nice. as well as the Allbaugh family and a lot of other prominent clients. It's a real nice honor. Obviously, the West, they took the money that was offered. Wasserman, that Qatari sheikh, he throws money around, buys horses ready made, and that's one way to go about it. But I was very happy for Sid and wanted to make sure that people knew that he was responsible for the creation of that. Yeah, worth mentioning. Certainly, it's worth thoroughbred. So, yeah. All right, Steve, appreciate it. We'll be tuned in over the next few days for some recap of the weekend action, and obviously Tuesday, I'm sure you'll preview a little action at Keeneland as well, Monday and Tuesday. But travel safe on your return, and we appreciate the visit. Boots on the ground, baby. That's how I lined it up at the top of the show. Boots on the ground from Santa Anita. Always appreciate it. Steve, thanks. Thanks, Pat. Steve Byk, again, live from Southern California. Been there this week leading into the Santa Anita Derby, as you heard. He'll be there a couple more days with recap action, and then on and on and on. Churchill and Nashville and some Baltimore coming up as we head into Triple Crown season. Should be fun. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. Don't forget, today here at the Clubhouse Racebook Players Bankroll, we'd love to have you stop by and enjoy the chance to get on the team and maybe play yourself into a little spare cash this afternoon. Clubhouse Racebook,
711 Central Avenue in Albany. And don't forget, we have a syndicate coming up next Saturday, but the entries will open up for that today. So put your name in and get your chance to be part of next week's online syndicate. It'll open today, probably we're about 11. We'll probably open up in about an hour or so, noontime, for the syndicate. Go to capitalotb.com, click on the promotions link, look for that graphic right there, click on that, and you can fill out the entry form. All right, Seth Merrow wrapping it up for a Sunday morning here on Racing Across America, where we recap a lot of really nice stakes action from yesterday, not only here in America, but around the world as well. And also we had a little preview action of Keeneland. Don't forget, with Keeneland being Monday and Tuesday, I will be in Monday and Tuesday afternoon with OTB Live, taking us through some Keeneland action. Should be fun. Ashland on Monday, Bluegrass on Tuesday, but Keeneland action today as well, which becomes essentially their opening day for the spring meet. So we'll be back in about an hour or so with OTB Live for Sunday afternoon. That will include that action in some New York as well. So thanks for tuning in this morning. Again, back in a while with OTB Live. We'll see you then.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.